بسم الله الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. First of all, I would like to thank last week. I know you guys had a review session with Brother Arsalan, Jazallah Khair. So I'm grateful and thankful to him and to all the brothers and sisters for being here. And again, sorry for the delay. Kind of still jet lagging. I arrived last night from England, so my time is like for the last 10 days. Now it's like 2 a.m. or something like that. We're going to be reading hadith, I guess, Rafi'. Yeah, we are reading hadith Rafi' ibn Khadij. Who's going to read? Hadith 131, that's where we stay. That's what we are at right now.
وعن قال المؤلف رحمه الله عن رافع بن خديج رضي الله تعالى عنه قال كنا نصلي المغرب مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فينصرف أحدنا وإنه ليبصر مواقع نبله متفق عليه. Rafi' bin Khadij said, we used to offer the Maghrib prayer with Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then one of us would go out of the masjid and be able to see the spot his arrow would fall at. Agreed upon.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu rasulullah. This hadith, again, the author, rahimahullah, ibn Hajar, writing now about when the Prophet ﷺ used to pray these prayers. After he told us when the beginning and the end of the time, he telling us when the Prophet ﷺ used to pray the daily prayers. And this hadith Rafi' ibn Khadij radiyallahu anhu, it tells us that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he used to pray Maghrib what? In the early time or in the end of the time? In the end or in the beginning? Why? Because whenever you shoot your arrows and you can see where it lands and what it hit, it means there is still light. It's not dark. That's right. So he said, and guess what? When you shoot the arrows, that means it's a far distance. So that means there is a good enough light for you to see even the thing that's very far. Now if you go out, now it's kind of late. If you go out, you can't see clearly what is far. If you wait a little bit, maybe 15 minutes more, it will be even darker. And it's still not Isha yet. So here we say that this hadith, he reported this hadith to tell us when the Prophet ﷺ used to pray Maghrib and in the early time. Rafi' ibn Khadij. Khadij with fatha. Khadij with fatha. Anybody knows what's Khadij? Do you know any word close to the word Khadij? Khadija, very good. Khadija, Khadij, the same meaning. Comes from, anybody knows the word khidaj? About salah? That it is khidajun, khidaj. What that means? Anybody heard this word? Khidaj, salatun khidaj, yani naqisa, is incomplete. So Khadija or Khadij, it's an Arabic word, just the name, comes from something incomplete. So why would they call a woman Khadija? Why would they call a man Khadij? Either because he's so little, they consider him is not like fully developed, okay? And it's kind of nickname they give the person, he's so little, as if he's not completely developed. But also most likely because this person was born before 9 months. So the mother delivered Khadija, or delivered the person before the 9 months. So they call him Khadij. Yani naqis, he's not a full term of 9 months. Also, when there is something missing in his body, like somebody missing a finger or something like that, they call him Khadij, because there is something missing on him. So it could be several meanings, but one of the most common reason why they call somebody, would give the name to that, is because somebody did not stay for the full 9 months. Anyway, at the day of Badr, he came to the Prophet ﷺ to participate. This Rafi' ibn Khadij ibn Rafi' ibn Adi al-Ansari al-Khazraji, and the Nabi ﷺ said they are too young. Then he came back in Uhud, and the Nabi ﷺ accepted him. And it's not known that he ever missed a battle with the Prophet ﷺ afterwards. Even in the day of Uhud, the Nabi ﷺ said, no, you're young. And you can tell because he is small. So, so he said, you are young. But anyway, that in Uhud, the Nabi ﷺ accepted him, and he did not accept Samurah, sorry. Then he said, Ya Rasulullah, you accepted Rafi' and you rejected me, and I can beat, or like if I wrestle with Rafi', I will win. And they wrestled, okay, and he basically won the wrestling against Rafi'. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam after that accepted Samurah ibn Jundub and Rafi' together. But in the battle of Uhud, there is something happened to Rafi' radiallahu anhu, that he got shot with an arrow. Okay, so Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came to him and the arrow on his body, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال له إن شئت نزعت السهم والقطبة. القطبة زي غرفة يعني نصل السهم. He said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if you want, I will pull the arrow out of your body. What would happen if you pull the arrow out? Most likely you're going to die, actually. Yeah. Just for, not a doctor, but if you consult with the first aid, sometimes somebody stab you. If you pull the knife out, you can kill yourself. It's much better to leave it inside your body, because it basically seals the air. And in certain places, if you actually pull the knife out, you can die. But if it stay there, it is much better for you until a medical attention come. But anyway, so he said, if I pull it, up to you. Or وإن شئت نزعت السهم وأبقيت القطبة. If you want, I'll break the arrow. I'll just take the stick away and keep the tip of the arrow, which is the metal part, inside your body. طيب. And you will survive. But Rafi', he said, the question for him is about shahada. That means if he pull it, he die. There's a big chance for him to die as a shaheed. But if he does that, he will survive, and he will miss the opportunity to die as shaheed, protecting the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال له إن شئت كسرت السهم أو أخرجت السهم وأبقيت القطبة يعني النصل وشهدت لك يوم القيامة أنك شهيد. And I will testify in the day of judgment that you were shaheed. And don't worry, even if you die at home later on, at each house, or years later on, I will say to Allah that this one is shaheed, because the cause of his death happened in the battlefield. He said, Ya Rasulullah, no, break the arrow, keep that inside my body, the tip of the arrow inside my body, and be my witness, be a witness for me in the day of judgment. And the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did that. By the way, Rafi', he had a great, even though he lived in desert in the beginning, him and his family, then he moved to Medina, and he had a great deal of interest in agriculture. And he had farms, and if you read his story, you will know that. And ironically, he is the one who narrated to us most of the hadith that talk about the ruling of farming, and watering and the zakat of it. And because this is something that this is the type of business that he was in. He witnessed the battle of Siffin with Ali radiallahu anhu wa arda. Died few weeks or months before the death of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu wa arda. And it was said that Abdullah ibn Umar was carrying his janazah, his basically body, and he carried it until he put him in his grave. He heard women crying, and he said to them, "Inna Rafi' shaykhan kabira." Rafi' is an old man, which is show you he lived very long life after that incident in Uhud. And he told them, "Inna Rafi' shaykhan kabira." He is an old man. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have told them that the death or the deceased will suffer because of the crying of his family. So he said this to the woman. He said, "This is an old man, can't take that. Stop doing what you're doing, weeping and like making loud voice with crying and things of that, because tears it's allowed, but like the weeping and like raising voice with wailing and stuff like that's not allowed." And he put him in his grave. He used to be a mufti in Medina since the time of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu wa arda. Also, if there's anything I remember of Rafi' radiallahu anhu, just because recently I was talking about the story of Uthman. Rafi', when he heard Uthman was surrounded in his house by the Khawarij, and I was telling in England in my class about the story of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Then Uthman radiallahu anhu, one day he came out, he surrounded for several days and weeks actually. Then he said, "Wa atashah." He said, we don't have water inside the house. We're thirsty. So when Rafi' heard that, he put his sons, give his sons Abdullah and Ubaidillah swords, and he brought his servants. He gave them swords. He put an armor on all of them and himself. And he's an old man. And he said, we're going to go give him water, even if we had to go through fight. And he went and he provided water for Uthman radiallahu anhu wa arda. When he died, Abdullah ibn Umar even delayed his janazah until everybody comes from all over the place and nearby areas, and his janazah was well attended, radiyallahu anhu wa arda. It was said that actually the reason of his death, he died during Abdul Malik ibn Marwan time, about 74 Hijri. Okay, he had 86 years old. He was 86 years old when he died. It died because the same area where he had the arrow in his body started bleeding and got infected, I guess, so badly, and he died, radiyallahu anhu arda, because of the wound that he had on that battlefield. Anyway, the hadith in al-Bukhari or Muslim, al-Bukhari rahimahullah said, Babu bayani waqt al-Maghrib. This hadith to show you what time the Prophet ﷺ used to pray Maghrib. And Muslim, he said, Babu bayani awwali waqt al-Maghrib ghurub al-shams. That the beginning of Maghrib is right when the sun disappeared. He said here, رافع رضي الله عنه وأرضاه قال كنا نصلي المغرب, used to offer the Maghrib prayer with Allah's Messenger صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم, ثم ينصرف مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فينصرف أحدنا, يعني we will leave, then one of us would go out of the masjid and be able to see the spot his arrow would fall at. Imagine you pray, you do the adhkar, you do the sunnah, then you leave, and you still can. Let's show you how early Maghrib is. An-nabl, by the way, just for the record, an-nabl is a word only refer للسهام العربية. You cannot call the arrows that made by the Romans or Persian nabl. And nabl is only the arrows that the Arab used to make, and it's a different in its shape than the Romans or the Persian or the Indian arrows that it was also known at that time. And nabl, okay, is a plural. جمع لا مفرد له من لفظه. It doesn't have a singular of it. Some people said it does, but the most they said it's plural. Nabl refer to many and only refer to the Arabic ones. What do we learn from this hadith? Number one, that it is highly recommended to pray Maghrib early in the time. And I will give you another narration, show you how early they used to pray. And this narration in Muslim Ahmad reported that رجل من الأنصار, one from Al-Ansar, said, كنا نصلي المغرب مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We used to pray Maghrib with the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. ثم ننصرف نترامى حتى نصل إلى ديارنا ونحن نبصر مواقع سهامنا. يعني we will pray with the Prophet ﷺ. Then we will go back all the way to our homes, and our homes not even near, and we still can see where our arrows will land. That shows you that really it is in the beginning of the time, and also shows you one more thing. What? The salah is very short, mashallah, excellent. That the salah is not that long. It's a short salah, so that's why the light still out, and they can go back and can see where their arrows fall. So that's very clear that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam pray early. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when Jibreel came to teach him Maghrib prayer, in the time of Maghrib prayer, in the 2 days, usually Jibreel come to pray one day in the beginning, one the end. In the 2 days, Jibreel came in the same time for Maghrib, which is حينما سقطت قرص الشمس, when the sun disappeared, when the sun came down. So the both days in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with Jibreel in Mecca, he taught him how to pray Maghrib and when to pray Maghrib in the same time, in the beginning of the time. And this issue is ijma' bayn al-ulama. There is a consensus among the scholars that is highly recommended to pray Maghrib in the beginning of the time. The only people who recommend Maghrib late in history of Ummah Muhammad are the Shia. They are the only one among all groups, and we're not here to discuss the fiqh of other sects and groups, but just it's interesting to know that I have never come across any madhab or any opinion among the fuqaha al-Islam who said that Maghrib should be prayed late. The only ones said that are the Shia, who said you only pray Maghrib حينما تتشابك النجوم أو تشتبك النجوم. They said you pray Maghrib when the stars appear. So it means what? Dark. You only see the stars when the night comes. So they pray Maghrib quite late. Even though Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, لا تزال أمتي بخير. My ummah will be in goodness. ما لم يؤخر المغرب إلى أن تشتبك النجوم. And my ummah will be in goodness or good as long as they don't delay Maghrib until the night comes and you can see the star. By the way, Maghrib time, it's when the whole entire sun goes down, not part of the sun. Fajr, when the beginning of the Fajr appear. Okay? And the Fajr end when what? When just a little bit of the sun comes out. If basically just a little bit of the sun comes up, that means Fajr time end. That's right? Maghrib, the whole entire sun has to go down and disappear from the horizon. And there is an ijma' on this. There is also this is an issue of agreement between the scholars. Because في حديث سلمة بن الأكوع رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم used to pray Maghrib حينما غربت الشمس, when the sun disappeared, وتوارت بالحجاب, يعني completely disappeared, completely gone. And Maghrib start from that time when the sun goes down and you cannot see it in the horizon anymore, until the redness of the sun disappear. When the redness of the sun disappear, that means the Isha time start, according to Abu Hanifa wa Shafi'i wa Ahmad rahimahumullahu jami'an. Next hadith.
وعن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت أعتم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات ليلة بالعشاء.
Can we say from hadith Rafi' يعني how the Sahaba رضي الله عنهم always used to carry their weapons? You know, because they have their arrows, they have their archer, that means they carry that with them and they do that after Salat al-Maghrib. But if that means anything to you, it's an expression to tell you how early that they used to pray. And because this culture is so attached, the Arabs in general, so attached to certain things that they use a lot. And one of it is archery. One of them, their weapons. So proud of their sword. So proud of their weapons. Possessing this means a lot to them. It's part of the culture. It's like in America here. We're so, not all America, I guess, especially in Texas. We are here in Texas, and so proud of our guns, so proud, of having your gun or your weapon. Freedom, everybody, but it just is a sense of pride, and have my own weapon. It's mine. It's culturally. If it's rooted in certain culture, it's very hard to get it out. And I can see that clearly in the time of the companion radiallahu anhu. Yes. Sorry, I'm Sheikh Ammar.
النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات ليلة العشاء حتى ذهبت عامة الليل ثم خرج فصلى وقال إنه لوقتها لولا أن أشق على أمتي. رواه مسلم. Aisha رضي الله عنها said, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم delayed the Isha prayer one night till a great part of the night passed. Then he went out and offered the prayer and said, this is the proper time for it, were it not that I would impose a burden on my ummah. Reported by Muslim.
So she's saying that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam delayed the Isha prayer till a good part of the night had gone, almost 1/3. Then he came out and prayed and said, this would be the proper time for it if it was not too much of a hardship on my nation, on my ummah. قال إنه لوقتها لولا أن أشق على أمتي. And this hadith reported by Imam Muslim rahimahullah ta'ala in a chapter about the time of Isha and delaying Isha. So here again telling you when the Prophet ﷺ used to pray Isha. أعتم, where we got 1/3. She said أعتم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات ليلة بالعشاء. See, they translated here, one night the Prophet ﷺ delayed Isha prayer one night till great part of the night passed. Okay, it's interesting how he translated. Good translation actually. He said ذات ليلة حتى ذهب عامة الليل. أعتم, okay, it's like when you said أتهم أنجد. أتهم يعني enter Tuhama, which is mountains in Arabia. أنجد يعني enter Najd. So أعتم يعني he entered Al-Atma. He entered Al-Atma. And al-atma, basically, in Arabic language, it is almost when 1/3 of the night is gone, or at the end of the beginning of the first 1/3 of the night. So it's not, Isha start when the redness of that you see in the sky disappeared. Isha start. Here in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not pray at the beginning of the time. He waited until almost 1/3 of the night gone. But question, if he waited until إذا كان العتمة, as many Arabic linguistic scholars said, al-atma, it means 1/3. Why she said حتى ذهب عامة الليل? What's ذهب عامة الليل? Most of the night gone. But in the translation, a great part of the night gone. Okay? If you look at the word, ذهب عامة الليل, most of the night. It's like يقول ذهب عامة أهل العلم أو مات عامة, the majority. If we say majority of the night gone, that means he prayed Isha when? After what? After midnight. After because in order for you to say the majority, it means 51% and up. That's right. So if Aisha is saying he ammatun layl, it means majority of the night. It means after half of the night. But absolutely not. That's not the case. That's not the case. Okay? Because in another narration, she said, وَصَلَاةُ الْعِشَاءِ مَا لَمْ يَنْتَصِفِ اللَّيْلِ. He said, an Isha prayer has to be before midnight. Before the mid of the night. عَامَّةُ اللَّيْلِ here means a lot of the night, or a great deal of the night, which is 1/3 of the night. He said, this is the Isha time. If you want a literal translation, this is a very good translation that you guys have. He already explained what this word means. But if you're going to read it literally, or you translate it literally, he said, إِنَّهُ لَوَقْتُهَا. This is the time of Isha. When you hear, if this is the time of Isha, you think this is the time of the beginning? No. The time of end? No. This is the time of Isha, and the best time to pray Isha. يعني وقت الأفضلية. He said, لولا أن أشق على أمتي. We call لولا, for those who loves Arabic language, نسمي هذا يقولون حرف امتناع لوجود. It didn't happen because there is a reason. There is a reason to prevent these things from happening. So لولا أنت لما حصل كذا. So because of this, I couldn't do that. Because it is going to be hard for my ummah, that's why I will not pray Isha in the best time. Okay? Which is by the end of the 1/3 of the night. This hadith, there is many benefits we can learn from it. Number 1, it is highly recommended to delay Isha if it's not hard for people. إذا لم يشق على الناس. If it doesn't cause hardship. And that's the position of the Hanafi, the Hanabila, one opinion among Malik and Shafi'iyya as well. And large number of Salaf used to say that, like Ibn Abbas. Khan ibn Abbas used to say, it is highly recommended to pray Isha late. And he said, وَزُلَفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. كان يقرأ وزلفا من الليل. وكان ابن مسعود delay Isha so late, and he prayed Isha very late. And Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah and Ibn al-Mundhir said, وذهب إلى هذا عامة أهل العلم. The majority of the scholar said so. And Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, Ibn Taymiyyah al-Shawkani supported this opinion over any other. Why? Because Abu Barzah al-Aslami قال له أبي كيف كان يصلي صلى الله عليه وسلم المكتوبة. How the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to pray. When he was asked, Abu Barzah said, and we read this hadith before, كان يستحب أن يؤخر العشاء. He used to recommend to delay Isha. التي تدعونها العتمة. So he used to like to delay Isha. And Jabir رضي الله عنه كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يؤخر صلاة العشاء الآخرة. Because المغرب تسمى صلاة العشاء الأولى. He said the second Isha the Prophet ﷺ used to delay it. What the second Isha means? What's the first Isha? Maghrib. Maghrib also called Isha. And many hadith, or there's some hadith and narration, قدموا العشاء على المغرب. أيضا بعض الناس يقولون قدموا العشاء على العشاء. I don't know the محفوظ عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم this wording, but al-isha, even if you say it, it was said before, it means al-maghrib prayer. Anyway, so this is one of the things that we learn from this hadith. It is highly recommended for you to basically to pray Isha late. In congregation, we talked about this before, but I'm saying this again for what? Let's say a sister by herself. But if this is going to cause hardship for you, you're going to be tired, you're going to forget. In this case, we said, no, you pray early. But it is recommended, let's say we are traveling. You are a traveler in your hotel. It is better to pray Isha late. So you remember, it's always highly recommended for you to pray Isha late, not in the beginning of that time. This hadith also shows you ترك السنة لتأليف قلوب الناس مطلب وهدي النبوي. Sometimes to leave the sunnah, sometimes leaving the sunnah, recommended act, okay? Because you will win people's heart and you make it easy for people, it's the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sometimes we try to apply a recommended act, but it will cause a hardship for people. And since Ramadan is coming, sometimes, and I can be guilty of that as well, sometimes we length the dua al-qunut so long, and because we want to make dua, and we cause hardship for people around behind us. Sometimes you might make the salah too long on ruku' and sujood and recitation, and you have to read the whole entire juz in one salah, and people have to go work very early, students and so forth, and such late Isha these days. That's a hardship. You're not recommended to do things that it will cause hardship for people just because you want to do a recommended act. That's not what the best time to pray Isha now, late, but I'm not going to do it because that causes hardship to people. Okay? So anytime that you see a recommended act, that it will cause hardship, it will cause difficulty to people, you can leave that for that reason. But you have to educate people. You can't just leave the sunnah and it will die. It will be unknown. Because if I never do it, if I never practice it, if I never mention, it will die. Nobody, this part of the deen will disappear. But لابد من تعليم الناس ما هي السنة ما الأفضل ثم لو تركتها بعد ذلك. So even if I don't do it, but I need to tell you about it. I need to inform you about it. Maybe later on, who knows, generation comes down on the road and they will have a different circumstances, or you will be living in a different area, or you will have the ability to practice this sunnah without hardship. But it's not right, it's just to ignore it completely. أيضا لا يجوز الحرص على المستحبات في مقابل تضييع الواجبات. It is not right. One of the reasons Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed Isha early, not very late, because worried that it will be hard for people and people maybe miss what? Fajr. So it's not right that you care about a recommended act and you miss obligatory.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So we said it's not right that you care to do something recommended and in return you miss something wajib. So if you delay Isha, it might cause somebody missing what? Also can be missed Isha itself. He falls asleep. That's right. What another wajib? Another wajib is the unity of the Muslim. They'll be able to be unified, no dispute. Somebody said, no, that's hard for me, that's too late, no, I will do this, and you will not have an agreement. And no, I'm going to pray, I'm not going to come to the masjid. You know, Nabi Sallallahu cared for all of them to be in the masjid, to come together, to pray with each other, to be unified, which is something higher or greater than praying in the best time of Isha, which is the last third of the night. You see? So here we see that Nabi Sallallahu look into this, which is, we call it mura'at al-masalih, that you look at the greater benefit, the greater good, and the less harm. And that's one of the most important rules in Sharia. This hadith also shows another important rules in Islam, one of the most important rules in Islam, which is al-mashaqqah tajlib al-taysir. Hardship bring ease. Praying in the end of the 1/3 of the night is hard. So that hardship led to ease, which is pray in the beginning of the time. So that's very interesting rules in Sharia. You know, in traveling, why the Sharia said you can join the prayers? Because to stop and to pray each prayer in its time, it's hard. So that's why you combine between the salah, to make your life easy. Okay? Or because of the rain, or because of fear in the war. Tayammum, whenever it is hard for you to make wudu because of sickness or limited amount of water, you replace water with what? With the dust. You just put your hand on the ground and you use that as a replacement for to wash your hand, then you wash face and done. Also, one of the examples that the ulama mentioned, that whenever you have pictures in a carpet or in clothes, you know, or in books, you don't have to go and basically, or maybe it's in blankets or, you know, things of that nature. You don't have to go, or in cups or, you know, plates or something like that. We call the suwar muhana. It's not like a framed or like picture you hanging it in the wall, or like, you know, and honoring it. No, it is part of either cloth, or it is on carpet, or it's in plates. These images, you don't have to go and to cover it or to remove it. Why? Because it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. So the Taysir came in saying these kind of pictures are exempt. This hadith also shows Rahmat al-Nabi sallallahu bil ummah, that the Nabi sallallahu so merciful with the ummah. The leaders need to have that mercy, need to have that compassion, need to have that care, that they care about the ummah, the followers, the Muslim community to be in the best state. We need to have that mercy in our heart. You know, there is people love to make things difficult, love to make things hard. Yesterday, this week also, one of the things we talked about in our class They asked me about the concept of at-talfiq, following or tatabbu' rukhas al-fuqaha, or following the opinions of the fuqaha that is known to be lenient. So I take that opinion from the Shafi'i because it's easy, and I go on another issue, take that easy. And I told them, for the person that's not allowed, I just go pick the easiest things and everywhere. That's not, because there's a conflict of interest that you might be following your desires. But for the mufti, that's fiqh. And that's the practice of all ulama al-Islam and the muftin. For the mufti, sometimes he might choose for you an opinion he sees is the easiest for your situation. It's the most suitable for your case. So, اتباع الرخص للمفتي جائز أما المستفتي لا يجوز. And the mufti, he might follow the rukhsah of this alim, especially if you come to me and you tell me, you know what, Sheikh Walid, I divorced my wife 3 times and I love her, we have kids and we do this and we do that, and I'll say, you know what, yes, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah and Abu Bakr madhab was allowed for you to go back. We don't consider the 3 divorce in one time as 1 divorce, or 3 divorce, or divorce happened during a period, it doesn't count. So you know what, I can take you back to your wife. I might not take that opinion as my personal fiqh opinion. You come to me and you said, you know what, I made tawaf and hajj, what do I do now? And I found that, especially after the fact, you will find a very common practice in the fuqaha, that they will look at an exit for the person. Why? Because الشريعة متشوقة للتيسير على الناس. Because the principle is that we're looking forward to make it easy for people. They're coming and asking and want guidance, and so we try to give them the most suitable thing for them, that it will help them in their iman and their deen to grow. أيضا, this hadith shows that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam cared about the family. How do we get this from? This hadith shows that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam cared for the family, because Umar radiallahu anh, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam delayed the salah one night until late. Then he said, this is the time, but I don't pray it every day like this, or I will not pray it like this, only because what? Because it will be hard for the ummah. That night when he delayed the salah, قال عمر يا رسول الله رقد النساء والصبيان. Our wives and our children already sleep, gone. And we are still here, waiting for salah. People work hard after Isha. This is the time you spend with your kids, with your family. If you're going to stay until the 1/3 of the night, there is no time for you to socialize with your family and to be with your family. But the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam understood this and said, I'm not going to make it hard for the ummah. So, because he understand that family have rights as well. This hadith also shows you that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam لم يكن هديه تأخير العشاء. Shows you that that common or the default practice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he pray Isha early. He did not used to delay it in congregation with his. That's why he said, if wasn't for the hardship, I would have done that. That means he prayed it early, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Next hadith. Unless somebody has a questions or anything, I will. Or fa'idah, something that you see from the hadith, we can add to these points.
Could you say that the hadith is proof that the women and the children would pray Isha at the masjid with the Prophet ﷺ?
No, but they are home. He said this. At home.
They're at home?
Yeah.
Not in the masjid.
No. Or they want to come to pray and they slept, so they're missing it. But it looks like, he said, we're waiting because they were waiting. He said, Ya Rasulullah, yani, maybe they are in the masjid, I don't know. But it's, for me, it could be. Next hadith.
وعن ابي هريره رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اذا اشتد الحر فابردوا بالصلاه فان شده الحر من فيح جهنم متفق عليه. Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه said, Allah's Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم said, when it is hot, delay the Dhuhr prayer till it.
I wouldn't say hot, when it's extremely hot. Yeah. Or very hot, something like make it a little bit more than the average heat. Yeah.
So when it's extremely hot, delay the Lord prayer till it cools down, for the intensity of heat is from the exhalation of hell. Agreed upon.
Is fragrance of hell make sense too? Fragrance. Because the translation I have says that. Fragrance.
Smell of hellfire. Fragrance is positive.
Huh?
Fragrance means something positive, like a nice smell.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Even though this website is very accurate in their translation. He said here, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا اشتد الحر فأبردوا. When it is extremely hot or very hot, delay dhuhr, delay prayer. He didn't say dhuhr in the hadith. He said delay the prayer. Delay the prayer. That. إذا اشتد, it means became very hot. The heat of the sun and the rays of the sun is very strong. He said, abridu. Okay? فأبردوا. يعني delay it until it cooled down. يعني the sun cooled down. Okay? So you can pray easily. So you don't need to pray while suffering from the extreme heat. And also when you walk to the masjid, you don't need to deal with the extreme heat. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, bis salat. So delay the salat. The, في لغة العرب, al, which is we translated to the, يراد بها العهدية. العهدية. يعني the salat, the known salat to you. Which salat that comes in the midst of the heat of the sun? Dhuhr. That's right, Dhuhr. Dhuhr is very hot because it's right in the midday. Okay? طيب. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wait until the sun cools down. The rules and the benefit from this hadith. Obviously, this hadith reported by Al-Bukhari wa Muslim من حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه من حديث سعيد بن المسيب وأبو سلمة بن عبد الرحمن both heard Abu Hurairah saying that the Prophet ﷺ said that. And both in Al-Bukhari wa Muslim from this طريق من طريق الزهري عنهما. The benefits we learn. Number one, until the sun cool. What that means, the sun cool. It doesn't mean, make sure that you said this, it doesn't mean you wait until the dhuhr time end. So let's say Asr comes like 4 o'clock and it's still very hot. You didn't say I'm gonna delay until like 7 or 6. No, you have to pray on the dhuhr prayer. Okay? But the point is, until it cooled down, until the sun cooled down a little bit more, so people when they walk to the masjid, and people when they make sujood, especially in the old days, there's no AC, it's the rock and the sand can be very hot. Okay? And to show you that it doesn't mean will the heat disappear completely. No. Even if still there is heat, but during the time you have to pray. That's why في حديث خباب in Sahih Muslim شكونا إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حر الرمضاء في جباهنا وأكفنا فلم يشكنا. يعني على رواية يعني لم يزل شكوانا على فهم بعض أهل العلم. They said that النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, they complained to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, it's hot when we make sujood. Then النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم didn't do anything about it. يعني what can I do to you? That's the time of the salah. The only thing he will do it, he will make the salah a little bit faster. But khalas, because the time, you have to pray dhuhr during the time. طيب. That leads me to discuss the issue of one of the things that we want to know. What's the ruling of delaying dhuhr prayer during dhuhr time? Yani you pray during the dhuhr time, but we delay it, not the beginning of the time. Because as we know, praying dhuhr is highly recommended to be in the beginning of the time. Nabi sallallahu always pray dhuhr at the beginning of the time. Yani other than the extreme heat weather, al-dhuhr, it is sunnah to pray in the beginning of the time. Nabi sallallahu صلى لما زالت الشمس. He prayed when the sun moved from the middle. Yani in the beginning of the time, Nabi sallallahu used to pray. لا يحفظ عنه. We don't know any hadith suggested that Nabi sallallahu used to pray dhuhr late. He prayed at the beginning of the time. So when it is extremely hot, what should we do? Should we follow this hadith and we delay dhuhr, or should we stay with the common practice of the Prophet ﷺ and we pray in the beginning of the time? This issue has three opinions among the fuqaha. The first opinion, which is very kind of shad a little bit, yani not a common and it's not a very strong opinion. They said it is must to delay dhuhr. قالوا بوجوب الإبراد. It's must upon you to delay dhuhr. And this opinion mentioned by Al-Qadi Iyad, even though he didn't adopt it. And it is the opinion of Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani, the great Hanafi faqih, the student of Abu Hanifa. And I only mentioning this because if you look in Fath al-Bari and others, just in case, if you want to check my explanation of the hadith is correct or not, and it'll be a good thing to do, is always to do your homework as well, you will find that the ulama said there is ijma', a consensus among the scholars that it is recommended. But actually there is no consensus. There is no ijma'. There is some ulama said it is wajib, it is must. But it is a weak opinion. The second opinion, it is recommended to delay dhuhr until the sun cools down. And you don't pray dhuhr in the beginning of the time. And that's the majority of the companion, the successor, the fuqaha, Al-Shafi'i, Ahmad, Ishaq, Abu Hanifa, that it is highly recommended. Why? Because of the hadith we heard, hadith Abu Hurairah, radiyallahu anhu, also hadith Abu Sa'id al-Khudri fi al-Bukhari, hadith Ibn Umar fi al-Bukhari, hadith al-Mughira fi Muslim ibn Ahmad, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم used to pray dhuhr في الهاجرة, ثم قال أبردوا بالصلاة. It was very hot. الهاجرة يعني in the middle of the day, it was very hot. Then النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أبردوا بالصلاة, delay the salah until it cools down. فإن شدة الحر من فيح جهنم, that the extreme heat is basically from hellfire. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this narration Hadith al-Mughira is so important, and I'm going to use it later on, so pay attention to it. He said, كان يصلي الظهر بالهاجرة ثم أمر بالإبراد. He used to pray dhuhr in the hot, in the daytime, in the middle of the daytime, when it's so hot. Then later on he said, no, pray when it cooled down. And في لفظ, in another narration, as Al-Khallal reported, كان آخر الأمرين من رسول الله. The later position of the Prophet ﷺ, that he will delay dhuhr until the sun cooled down. The later position. So that means the Prophet ﷺ changed his practice. He used to pray dhuhr even when it is hot on time, in the beginning of the time. But later on he changed and he said, no, I will do it delayed. Which we call that what? Abrogation. Okay. Anyway, so this opinion, they said it is highly recommended. Some of them, like Shafi'i rahimahullah, put conditions. Like this country has to be hot, you're praying in jama'ah, you come from a long distance. But Nawawi rahimahullah, even his Shafi'i, he disagreed with his Imam, and he said the only condition is that it is hot, very hot. We're going to end here because of the salah. But the third opinion, who said no, you don't delay the salat al-dhuhr even if it's extremely hot. You pray in the beginning of the time. And they have evidence for that. And it's very interesting debate between the one who said it is highly recommended to delay. They have very clear hadith. But the other group have also very good argument. And even have very strong narrations where the Prophet ﷺ, they used to prove that you don't delay the salah, even the dhuhr, even if it is very hot. Next week, inshallah, we'll get to know that. Then next week also we have a very interesting discussion. I advise you to search it from now. What that means, that the heat of Jahannam, the heat of the extreme heat, is from the hellfire. We know that the heat is from the sun. Okay? So why Nabi said it's from the hellfire? We'll get to know that there are 7 different opinions among the fuqaha and ulama. Very interesting way of explaining what that means. Because unfortunately there are some people said, I would rather to judge this hadith as weak, even if I know it's hadith sahih, just because I don't want to deal with this issue. Because he's so confused. And I want to tell you guys, inshallah, next week, how this hadith, you don't need to believe it's weak or anything like that. Believe me, anything the Prophet ﷺ said and is authentic makes perfect sense. It's just a matter of ignorant people don't have the ilm to understand it. Thank you very much. See you inshallah next week.